This year has been one of the worst for Hollywood that we've seen in a long time. Aside from a few obvious standouts, nearly every big budget film has fallen flat on its face.
The idea to write movies that inspire social change is not a bad one. The issue with today's awakened Hollywood filmmaking is that films no longer have the freedom to speak for themselves. Before social media, actors were somewhat admired and kept under wraps. They had their own thoughts, no doubt, but the media now publishes leftist political opinion as fact, which is a distinction between pre- and post-social media. By demonizing them in interviews, on Twitter, and in the movies themselves, Hollywood elitists spread this viewpoint as gospel and alienate a segment of their fan base. Let's discuss more. Should the films fail? It would be because of those filthy bigots and misogynists. In Hollywood, there is no accountability or ownership. Films intended for general audiences are produced at a cost of millions of dollars. People should be able to enjoy the film or television program of their choosing because they put in a lot of effort at work, school, or both. They don't need to be made fun of or admonished the way they cast their ballots. Acting used to be about understanding people and taking on many figurative personas. These days, Hollywood elites are unable to appear in a film without having to complete the diversity checklist. Actors in Hollywood have joined writers on strike since 1960. This is the first time that both have left at the same time. During their vacation, perhaps they will pick up some new skills, and perhaps the nation will benefit from their absence. The film industry has faced numerous challenges in the past few years. Our viewing habits have changed as a result of increased competition. There were fewer excuses to get off the sofa thanks to streaming services, larger flat screens, and faster internet. Streamers now provide a wide selection of content created abroad. Viewers in Generation Z watch fewer TV and movies and spend more time immersed in video games and personalities on YouTube and TikTok. The pandemic's devastating effects on the already fragile movie theater industry hastened all of this. Hollywood has always been its own worst enemy. Do moviegoers enjoy Pixar animations, superhero flicks, and well-known franchises? So many inferior sequels should be thrown at them that spectators will eventually give up. The business is rife with sexual offenders shielded by a closed-off liberal elite, as the Me Too revelations have been exposed. Overcompensate by transforming choices about casting and programming into a carnival of identity politics and clumsy leftist agitprop that centers on representation. Only one 2023 film with a budget of over $200 million has turned a profit thus far after a year of box office disasters. That was published a month ago, and to be fair, that hasn't changed. Awaken Hollywood was already in decline in 2022, but since this was the first year they would have a full theatrical release calendar, it was meant to be the year they recovered. Sadly, that full theatrical release schedule was chock full of failures, to mention a few. Ant-Man was a failure. Renfield flopped the creator in a mesmerizing way. The Little Mermaid didn't perform up to par. Entertainment insiders predict that Hollywood's emphasis on diversity will lead to the end of show business as we know it. According to writers Peter Kiefer and Peter Savodnik on Buri Weiss' Common Sense Substack, there's a rising shift toward wokeism, since many in the business feel they'd no longer have the flexibility to be creative. According to a showrunner, the industry is trying to make up for its historical white dominance by discarding white men in favor of minorities, which will end in a class action lawsuit. The lack of diversity among the nominations for the Academy Awards has long been a point of criticism. The Oscars' So White boycott was aimed at the 2016 ceremony. In order to broaden its membership by 2020, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced historic revisions that same year. That year, the highly regarded foreign film Parasite became the first to win the Best Picture Oscar. While it's true that Parasite's South Korean origins helped it win awards, some in the business, including producer Howard Koch, feel that things have grown too serious. November saw Natalie Morales, an actress and filmmaker, take aim at white industry veterans who bemoaned losing their positions to people of color. Success is not a given with diversity. Consider the Sex and the City revival. Fans of And Just Like That are not fond of the show's heavy focus on racial tensions and sexual and gender identities, which takes place in place of following the lives of four friends living it up in New York City. Jordan Peele, the director, has been candid about his reluctance to exclusively use black actors in leading roles. The MCU has died of wokeness. The issue with woke messaging is that it places a lot of limitations on authors. This explains why Disney has released uninteresting, stereotypical girl boss female characters for the past 10 years. They won't consent to a female protagonist being viewed as helpless, weak, or imperfect. There is never a character journey for them. They don't develop because they never fail. They are therefore unrelatable. Disney always finds a method to avoid confronting a problem, like the fact that Hela is defeated by Thor, and that Proxima must engage in two-girl battles with Wanda in Infinity War. In addition, female characters, like Wanda and Mom and Melina in Black Widow, are portrayed in an extremely peculiar way. Despite acting morally reprehensible, they are never held responsible and are even given sympathetic roles in subsequent scenes. For instance, in the Civil War, Wanda unintentionally kills civilians while attempting to save Cap. Given that the government would probably arrest and deport her, Stark and Rogers are both attempting to shield her in separate ways. She is obviously distraught by this, and it serves as the catalyst for the Avengers' dissolution. In Black Widow, Natasha and Yelena laugh at themselves as they smash a prison with an avalanche, killing hundreds of people in an attempt to illegally free a prisoner. Melina is completely disgusting and never takes responsibility for the indoctrination, abuse, and murder of thousands of girls. Yet, no one seems to care, and everyone in Mom seems to believe Wanda has good reason to be upset over the disappearance of her made-up children. Writing poorly is writing poorly. To say it's awake would be to be blind. Because there are so many superhero movies out there, they're failing because there isn't really somewhere else to go. That explains The Flash's failure. It was not sensual. Simply put, boring. Similar to how Endgame did, Spider-Man No Way Home circumvented the system by including the previous Sony Spider-Man. That kind of blatant trick is no longer available. Just as the slasher genre did in the 1980s, the superhero genre is nearing its end. Despite having a lot of wokeness, both Loki and Andrew succeeded, because they rejected their genres in favor of strong writing. Superheroes and spaceships weren't Andrew's thing, and neither was Loki. That kind of stuff is essentially the only way those things can progress. It's all in the writing. Yet your creative options are limited when your subjects revolve around things like lightsaber fights and superheroes. Not in a big way. Thus far, the MCU has impacted approximately 1% of the comics. You could still do a lot with superheroes. There are many tales to be told in genres other than powerful heroes battle evil guys. The MCU wouldn't be failing if it were still producing movies as good as Winter Soldier, Civil War, or Iron Man. However, it has made things terrible, and has already mentioned a few of the reasons wokeness is mostly to blame for that. Additionally, the DC movie franchise is no longer active, which is why the films flopped. As the universe is being rebooted and was never of any quality to begin with, everyone is aware of the pointlessness of The Flash and Aquaman 2. Ezra Miller as well. Additionally, Henry Cavill's treatment. Barbie doesn't quite meet the requirements. The creators of the movie did not try to hide Barbie as an IP targeted at men in order to appeal to a female audience. As Mario did, it catered to an audience that already consisted primarily of women. The creators of the modern age are neglecting the predominantly male audiences for Star Wars, Marvel, and Doctor Who. They are failing because of this. A movie intended for American and British viewers, and the two finalists from those countries ultimately fall short. The winners are an athlete from the Soviet bloc, who becomes appreciative of his government for making him compete, and an Aboriginal Australian. It's a narrative that defies logic. Since it is directed towards the West, those who run are considered losers. Iron Man was released during the MCU's infancy, so it's hard to compare to now, when there have been nearly 20 Iron Man-style films released. That's all for today. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. Also, express your thoughts in the comments section below. Until the next video, bye.